So,
My boobs.
your boobs looks amazing, baby.
Thank you.
So, to begin, we would like to ask a favor to all those watching that you take those words that resonate, do what you wish, and those that don't, leave them behind and don't think about them. And this will allow us to express ourselves more freely and to not influence you in any way that is against your free will.
Yes, very beautifully said, baby.
Yes, yes. And yeah, welcome. My name is Nicolas.
My name is Janna.
Jana, uh, we have a relationship. We are partners. We are together.
Really?
And
Uh,
yeah, we would like to share some things with you about relationship and just have an open conversation. And yeah, we will see where it goes. And yeah, would you like to say something before we begin?
no, I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So to kick this off, uh, I thought we could tell the story about how we met.
How we met.
Would you
Oh,
like to
beautiful.
tell us from your perspective?
Yeah. Do you also want to tell me to tell all the stories beforehand that I did, the woo-woo manifestation
Whatever you
list?
feel like, go ahead.
Okay, okay. So it was 2019, and I've been in Bali on vacation actually back then. I haven't lived here yet. And I was listening to a podcast. I'm obsessed. I'm an Audible learner. I really love podcasts. And I was listening to a podcast, and it was like a manifestation, call in your soulmate kind of vibe. And I thought, okay, why not? I can try this. And it said, like, sit down on new moon and write, like, all the things you wish your future partner embodies. And then I thought, can't be too hard, right? So I sat down and I started writing. And then I was like, fuck, I only know what I don't want. I only know what I don't want. And then I thought, okay, I'll write down what I don't want because all my previous relationships were like super chaotic and not what I wanted. But it was like really interesting because internally I knew exactly what I wished, like harmonious relationship, openness, intimacy, and so on. But I would always attract kind of the opposite. And
Mm.
then I sat down and I wrote down everything that I actually don't want based on my experiences from my previous relationships. And then I turned it around. Like like I had a previous partner who would constantly be untruthful to me. So I wrote like open, honest communication. And then I wrote the stuff down. I thought about it and then I forgot about it. Like, like there was a date in my diary, the exact date. And then later on, 2 weeks later, I actually ran into you in
Mm.
Ubud in this Reiki workshop where you came in and, like there's only ladies, like those spiritual ladies in their like really beautiful dresses with the feathers in their like ears and so on. And then he walks in like all tattooed up. And I'm like, this guy is probably lost. What is he doing here? And you had you're having a really calm, like grounded energy, and I really
Mhm.
like that about you. But I didn't have any other thoughts, and like I said, I forgot about my manifestation list. And then later on, as because we met there and then we stayed in touch, but actually we didn't really message for like 6 months.
No, we did the course, and there was not a lot of interaction except for like when we did the practice doing the with the hands on. We did it one together, and then after in the lunchtime, when I came, you were like, "I will pull
Oh my God,
cards
that
for you," and
story.
I was like, "Okay." And she pulled some card for me, and she said, "Oh my God, we're gonna work together someday." I was like, "What are you talking about? This woman is crazy."
Yeah, well, I don't know what came over me, but I was like reading those cards and interpreting them, and then something inside me just like, when you talk without thinking, and that's actually what channeling is all about, like we don't want to go into that topic yet,
Actually,
but
she does this a lot. One time outside of a shopping mart in Tulum, I asked her a few questions in the car right there, and then when we got there, we were going with the trolley outside, and there's like millions of people, millions of cars, and then she just from nowhere she said, And she raised her hand and she said, I have an epiphany. And I said, whoa, okay, tell me. And she said, so I don't remember exactly what it was,
You
but
have
she
to
said
go
like,
to Canada.
we have to go to Canada and we have to do work there. There's something special there. We will meet some people and do these things. I was like, okay, baby. And then we went and started shopping.
Well, you're right. I do have that
Yeah,
at
you
some
do that
point.
have a
And
lot.
that was exactly the situation in Ubud when we met, when I was reading for you during lunch. And
Hmm.
afterwards, I was like, oh my God, I'm so creepy. Why did I say that?
Connection with intuition, I would say this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating because I have that often without realizing. But like back to our getting to know
Mm,
story.
yes. So
So
level one, we met. She
yeah,
pulled cards. Then we left.
yeah,
I
and
also was in a relationship at the time. I was in
yes,
Bali on vacation with my.
but nothing happened. It was very
Yeah. We were
innocent.
not flirting or something like this. It was very.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I remember then you gave me your phone number and it was incorrect because I tried to message you on
Oh,
WhatsApp
really?
about something and it was wrong.
Mm.
But then we connected on Instagram. And I think months later you messaged me because you wanted to come back to Bali and you wanted to like explore breath work and all of these things. And then we started messaging. And I remember the exact moment when he told me he's coming back. And I was like, oh, that's beautiful with your girlfriend again. And then he said, no, we separated. And I was like, and then I realized I maybe like him because I was like, congratulations. I just said, I think
Yeah.
I said congratulations.
You did said congratulations. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
find it so bizarre that sometimes we are like saying like, oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, most people probably feel better after they broke up. Like there
Yeah,
was a
maybe not in the
reason.
beginning, but after a while they realized they're like, oh, actually, I feel more free, and this was a shit relationship. I learned
Yeah,
a lot, but it was not the
yeah.
best.
Like, yeah, I said congratulations. And then we
And I
started.
also thought about this, but I think I didn't tell you. Like I broke up, and then it took a couple of weeks before I told you. I maybe because I uh, maybe I didn't want to tell it like it was so that we could connect. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was not telling you this for a while, and then just when you asked, I told you this. Like it
Ah,
was
you're
nothing, but I think
sneaky.
I was, yeah, I think there was a maybe some subtle seduction kind of way
Oh,
there.
yeah,
I
you
didn't
have
want
that
to,
energy.
yeah, I didn't want to be too, uh, you know, wanting.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
then you came back for me.
yeah. And then I decided to go on vacation and brought my friends this time. So we went 1 month with two of my friends. And that time we were more relaxed. We were going around. You showed me some temples and waterfalls, and
Mm,
we connected. We didn't really flirt much in, in the traditional sense, I would say.
yeah,
Or more like a friendship in the beginning.
yeah,
Yeah, please continue.
yeah. And then I remember one of the most romantic moments. I don't know if you remember. So he already stayed here for a couple of weeks. We reconnected after that initial first meeting. And then we spent those weeks together, hanging out together. And then you were about to head back to Stockholm. And I remember when you left, you just stood there on the last day and you looked at me and you said, I will come back for you. And
Mm.
I was like, oh my God, we haven't even kissed. And I just melted. I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah. Yeah, those last days we had some moments where it turned more into not flirting, but more intimate.
yeah,
But still, we were not sure. But since today we're going to speak about communication, and that was in the beginning. So we had a moment when we were not flirting, we didn't know where it was going, and we were sort of friends and doing things. And then we had we did like a energy session, like a Reiki kind of session where I would do some massage and energy work on you.
yeah,
And because I felt there was an attraction going on, and obviously there was just not out in the air. We was not communicating this, but we had some connection.
yeah.
And as I was doing this, I sort of like I didn't touch her in a intimate way, but I because we were so relaxed, it was intimate. I was like, okay, let me work a little bit with the root center, you know. And when I did this, she felt something, like
By the way, for
some
those who don't know, it's at the base of your spine.
yeah, some electricity, some sexual energy activation. And she said like, whoa, 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 okay, this is too much. Like this is, I'm not ready for this. So we stopped, and Then she left. And then after this, I felt a bit bad. I was like, maybe I went too far. And we didn't like touch and do anything, but I felt maybe I invaded her space without communicating or something like this. So I really made an effort to sit down and like cut all the energetic cords and like connections so that I don't
Past ones.
past ones as well, but this one as well, just to make sure that I like don't my energy don't influence her in a way,
Yeah.
like subconsciously or something like this.
May I say my side of the story?
But then in the morning, she sent me a message to say, "Can we talk?" Because I was leaving in 2 or 3 days, and I said, "Of course." And then we met for coffee. So to get into the communication part, we had a good conversation then before we started dating. But yeah, please
It was
tell your
actually the
part.
first open, really truthful and honest conversation I had with someone who I kind of was interested in romantically. And you have to understand that in the past, I would totally ditch this kind of conversations and just hope that the other person would like me too. And my feelings were returned. And with you, I just didn't want this not knowing,
Mm.
like, and hoping and seeing and getting too involved, and then the other person doesn't want to, or like whatever, like the reasons were in the past. And I really wanted to be open. So that morning, I nearly shit my pants because I was so nervous. And I came in and I think I said even something along the lines of, so first I said, I'm curious to explore this connection,
You mean when
but
we met for coffee?
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm open to explore it, but I'm not someone who wants to have something casual. I'm just not that type of person.
Hmm.
And then I think I even said something along those lines of, my next relationship will be my last one. And I thought, oh my
Yeah.
God, why did I say that?
Yeah.
He'll never call me again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. When I came, she basically told me, she said, if you want this, I'm all for it. Like we can start to connect and do this kind of thing. But it has to be like set. Like I need some insurances. Basically, this is what I heard in that communication because it's from both sides, right? Like she tried to tell me something, and then what I heard was, I'm open to explore this relationship in a deeper way. If you want this, let's do it. That's what I heard. So this is the communication part. She was telling me this, but then the non-verbal communication that I received the day before, when I actually went one step further, was that she was not open to go more deeper. Not that she maybe was not open to this at some point, but it was not communicated. So her non-verbal communication told me no, she had some limit there, like we can't go further. But then
Mm.
she spoke, and with her words, she said, "I'm open to go further." So I was a bit confused, and I told her this
Eh,
as well. I said, like, okay, you tell me that you want to go deeper and become intimate, but you showed me with your non-verbal communication that it's not okay that I step over this line.
yeah.
But the part is that she needs to communicate it before that was open. But just so understand that there's a big difference between
But
the
like the
verbal and the
situation
nonverbal.
caught me by surprise,
Of
and we
course,
didn't
of course.
clarify this. So I was
There's
like,
also other
oh,
things to keep in mind. Maybe she didn't shave that day or something like this, you
no.
know. You never know what was the thing, you know, if she hasn't
Yeah.
prepared, you know how women can
I
be
would say
sometimes.
I just didn't feel safe in that moment
Yeah.
to surrender because I didn't know if you're just interested in something casual, if it would like, if I would regret it later, or if it would turn into something else.
You were not aware of my intentions
I
long
didn't know
term.
your
Yes.
intentions and so
Yes.
on. That's why I did this.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
can't. And then that's why I seeked the
Yes.
conversation the next
Yes.
day.
And that
So
was an
actually,
amazing
was
communication and way to go. And I think that was new for you.
yeah, it
And it
was
was
really
also
new
new
for
for
me.
me that somebody would talk to me like that or just say like this. And I was like, whoa, okay.
And you know, like back then when I talked to him, I thought, okay, it's like a 50-50 chance that he never reaches out to me again. But then I thought, at least I'll be proud that I spoke my truth and I was honest and open.
Yeah.
And
And
it worked.
yeah. And I was also thinking, she said, like, I'm open to do this, but we're living opposite sides of the world. I was just
Yeah.
there for a few weeks and I was leaving in a few days and I have my work, I have my apartment in Stockholm. So I came back and then most likely because of this connection, I really wanted to move to Bali when I came back. I was like, fuck, this is what I want to do. I can study and learn and do my things there. I feel this is a good environment
Mm.
to be in, and I really need to like get out of the environment that I'm in this moment, the working 10 to 14 hours every day and just doing this all the time. I didn't really like this. So I made a plan. I'm like, okay, I give myself like 10 months, a year, save some money, and then I will move to Bali. And I
Yeah.
think I told you this as well. Like I
Yeah.
said, I will come back for you.
But then COVID came.
And then COVID came and some changes, but the plan still worked. Like
Yeah.
it worked out really well.
But for 6 months, we didn't know when we will see each other again
Yeah.
because of the
Mm.
lockdowns. So it was like in one of those romance movies where one part is like on one side of
Mm.
the world and the other one is on that. And I was like
And they run to the
feeling like I'm
airport.
in the midst of a novel, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and we had some good conversations as well, like long distance, right? Like we're not together, but we talked about it, but we didn't make a choice because we're living opposite sides
We
of the
haven't
world.
even kissed back then.
We haven't even kissed,
Yeah.
but there was a feeling of, there was a connection there. So there was a feeling, I think, from both to not really meet others and things like this.
Mm.
But after a few months, we had a conversation, and I remember this is a quite good, because we're talking about communication. And I was sharing something, and I'm usually don't uh, I like to solve like whatever issues I have. I like to like think about them and like try to figure it out by myself, and that's how I sort of do it.
Mm.
But we had a call, and I don't remember what it was, but I was sharing something. I think it was like some father thing. Like I was like
Yeah.
I feel this father topic is coming up, and I'm thinking about this, and I think I told a story about uh, what I saw and what I felt about this. And your first response to this was to try to like give me options how to solve it. You were like, I don't know exactly what you said, but
Yeah.
you were like, maybe do this, try this, or read this, or do this and do this.
Mm. I
And
went into total mentor mode.
yeah, yeah. And I felt I shared this, and then when she told me this in this way, in the more problem solving kind of
Mm.
way, like masculine kind of way, she's like, do this, do this, do this. I felt this a little bit like repulsion, like not attraction. I felt like, ooh, okay, I don't like this. And then we hung up, and I thought about this during the night. I was like,
Yeah, I
why do
remember
I
you
feel?
were for 2 days really quiet.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could
yeah,
sense there was something, but I just left you
yeah.
to
And I wasn't
brood.
sure what it was. I just felt this like why, like not attraction, the opposite. And I thought about why, and then we had this conversation again. Then we had the call, and I told her like, hey, sometimes when I tell you something like this, like what's going on, what I'm feeling, I just want to share it with you, and I don't need you to like give me a solution. I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to like listen and like whatever else support, like encouragement or whatever. But I don't need you to fix it. I will take care of it, but I would like to be able to share it with you without you trying to fix the problem or like there's
Yeah.
something wrong.
And this is actually a beautiful example because it goes both ways.
For
So
sure.
often I have girlfriends who complain about these situations. You know, like they come to their partners and they're like all like in their full like emotional expression, and then the partner. And we had those situations reversed where I was the one coming to you and you're the solution bringer and like very logical, and that's great. But like then like, and we've mastered this quite well, so you have a really good fingertop känslan, like you're really good at distinguishing when I want to just like be in my full expression, like and be angry and cry or like express myself in whatever way emotionally. And then there is like one point, and I have the tendency to get really hung up in my head, so that you can be like, okay, that's enough, Yana. That's enough. Like you're really good at this.
Mm.
You're really good at this. So I feel really held in like when I'm like expressing all these emotions, but you're also great at telling me like, okay, that's enough. You have to stop. And I'm really like, and you're not doing it in a macho, like really controlling way. It's just like you have this ability to snap me out of it.
Mm.
And then the other thing is usually I would come around and tell you like, okay, now I calmed down. Can you tell me your solutions now? So
Yeah,
now I'm
yeah,
open. But in
yeah,
the beginning, if you start giving me solutions while I'm in this like
yeah,
expression,
yeah.
like I can't hear you, and I think I even told you sometimes, like I'm in my emotional body, like whatever you say right now, I can't hear you.
Mm,
I just want you to witness and
yeah.
hold space,
Yeah,
and
and
then when
I'll
I'm
be like,
out
Jana,
of it, yeah,
what are you feeling? Show me. How
yeah,
does it feel? And she goes, tantrum. But yeah, that conversation was amazing because you also said, you're like, "Ah, actually, that feels really good that I don't need to do that because you told me that in your previous relationship, you felt like you always had to do that or like that was your role, trying to fix, trying to
yeah,
solve all the problems. And
and I
that
don't,
actually felt good for both of us
yeah.
to have that
And
conversation.
the funny thing is, I don't even know if my previous partners demanded that from me, but I was telling myself I have to be like
Yeah.
this. So we always have an idea of how we are meant to be or behave or how we want to articulate based on our upbringing, basically, in order to be more loving or lovable and so on.
Hmm.
So in my past relationships, I realized that I've been someone who I'm actually not. Like, there was like one situation with my ex-partner where I would like just cook every day because I saw this like with my mother, right? I would cook every day and I would like, I mean, I like cleaning. Like, it's just in my nature. I like when it smells nice and looks like nice. So I would cook every day and I would force myself even to do it when I was really tired and not in the mood. And I felt there was an imbalance in me supporting him and him supporting me. Like I would always give 80%. And this kind of built up. And I think after 2 years, one time he came home and he was like, so what's for dinner, babe? And I would just explode. And I
Mm.
would be like, I don't want to cook for you. Like, what the fuck? I also have a lot to do. I'm so tired. And he was like, who the fuck are you?
Mm.
Like, I just exploded. I broke like this persona I was like living up to that I believed I have to be in order to be loved and accepted, just crumbled. And this happens a lot in relationships because we just like often do this unconsciously,
Mm.
like we try to be our best selves in the beginning, and sometimes it's not even who we truly are. And then it starts crumbling with time. So after this, I started contemplating, why have I told him that I want to cook every day and I want to do these things every day without ever telling him I'm tired. I don't want to do this now. Just like pretending, kind of.
Mm.
And then when I met you, I didn't tell you that I could cook for like 2 years.
Yeah. You kept this a secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Nico's also like a former chef. So he was an amazing chef. And then for the first time I had a partner who could actually cook. So I just let it. I just let you cook, like just let you do it, continuing this. And I was like, this feels nice. I'll just never cook because then he knows. And I was so afraid, which is also not right, because I do enjoy cooking. But I was so afraid to repeat that pattern that I just didn't tell you.
And maybe it was also good for you to enjoy that for a year or something,
Yeah,
to get that balance back, that
yeah,
somebody cooks for you, take care of you a little bit, and
yeah.
then now you're enjoying to cook as well.
Because you never give me the impression that I have to.
Mm.
And you always check in, like, how are you feeling? Maybe you want to order something,
Mm.
and you also are cooking for me.
Yeah.
So this is like, and it's such a mundane thing to do, but we also talked about, if you don't enjoy doing like the normal small little things with your partner, what's even the point? If we always are like kind of reaching for those highs, doing like adventures together is also fun. But like, I really love to just sit down, like cook with you, and then watch like a movie or like just have a conversation. Like the other day when you were on the sofa and you were like on your phone, and I was sitting at the dinner table, I was like, I actually really would like to connect to you today. And then you just put the phone away immediately and you sat down opposite of me. And then you started sharing about your day.
Mm.
And then I started sharing about my day. And that has been like a really beautiful like moment of
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah. And also at the beginning, when you said this, and then I sat down, you also first felt a little bit like not bad, but you were like, oh, it's okay. We don't have to,
Yeah,
you know? But then,
but we had
yeah,
to.
then I sat, and then we just, and then
Yeah.
after a while, we get the conversation going, and then we have that. And I think this is the most important thing. Like you said, the small things, these are the important things. These are the only things that matter. Like if you think that you have to do something extravagant all the time or like plan a date night all the time, it's not gonna last. Like this is not how to do it. Like nobody can live with that kind of pressure to always have to create some adventure. The small things, if you connect in this way, you keep that flow going, that love going, that understanding and communication,
Yeah,
and you
what do
feel
you
heard, you
do?
feel seen, the small things that going on in your life. And guys are really bad at this. I am also not the best at this. I try to get better, but we sometimes have things on our minds, some things that happen that we think that the partner, the woman, is not so interested in. But these we need to share these things,
But
even though it feels like sometimes they don't care or they don't listen. But we have to share these things because if we don't, there is an imbalance. Then she will share all the small things because women do this naturally. Like this happened, I talked to this person, and then we did this, and I'm excited about this, and the guy will just okay, okay, okay.
you know
But we
what
have to share.
worked really well was when we wrote those questions during dinner. You remember?
Hmm.
So we took like three little papers and then we wrote like three questions for the other. And then when we had dinner, we would like read those questions to each other. And it would be like, I don't know, what was your favorite hobby when you were a child? Or like, what's your biggest like passionate dream right now? Like, what would you like to achieve in the next 5 years?
Mm.
And it sounds like something your partner would know, but often like we are really surprised to hear what they have to say when we ask those things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And like I find this is like a really beautiful practice if we struggle with this.
yeah, yeah. Do this, guys. If you need to find this flow of communication once again, next time have dinner tomorrow. Write down three things each. What is your first memory in this life, or
Oh my god.
what is your favorite thing about me, uh, or what would you like to add to the relationship, or what is your favorite thing about
Yeah.
me in this relationship, something like this. And like we think we know everything about the other person in the relationship because we've been together for a long time, and we stop like being curious about how the other person is feeling or doing or what's on their mind. But that will break the connection. There will be no attraction left if you don't keep going. Like just ask, maybe they tell a new story, or maybe they tell it in a new way, or maybe they just share the same old story you heard 5,000 times. But just listen. It's not about the story, it's not about what the words are saying. It's about the connection and the sharing of that energy, the
Yeah.
Blu-ray, the throat center, like just the communication. And if you actively listen, they will feel seen and heard by you, and then you actively listen, and there is an attraction that happens. It's a
Yeah.
chemical thing. So try this, do this tomorrow.
Yeah, and we had another really good conversation the other day where I asked you, what would you like to see more of in the relationship? Is there anything like I first asked you, what do you really love
Mhm.
about our relationship? And then I asked you, is there anything I could do to support you more? Like anything you noticed?
Mm.
Because this can be a blind spot for me. Like I always say, and we get to that story in a moment, that relationships are the Olympics of inner work because we might be able to work on ourselves to a certain degree of awareness, you know? Like, let's say you clean a room. Let's say you clean your apartment, and there are certain corners you can't reach because you don't have the right equipment. But just imagine your partner has. So, all those little dusty corners that you can't reach yourself, your like intimate partner usually can really go there with you. And it's to a certain degree, I feel safer with you working on those like dusty corners than like, for example, with my family, because like they programmed those corners. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
know? So like they're responsible for that blueprint.
yeah,
Bless them. They did everything they could from a place of love. But like often our like partners are so helpful in like noticing our blind spots. And then when I asked you, what could I do to support you more? You said something that I didn't see that coming.
What did I say?
You can share it.
No, tell it.
So Nico said that he noticed that whenever he talks about something that he's really passionate about, I kind of lock out. And this kind of hit me because it's so true, because like we ultimately don't always have the same interests, and that's not necessary. Like it's actually nice when we have different hobbies and different interests. Like what I believe is important, that our core values, our vision for this
Mm.
life and so on align. But like you have different interests and you go like really deep in those ancient into those ancient yogic texts, and you can be quite metaphysical in your communication when you talk about the things that you love, and I sometimes just can't follow you.
Mm.
So what often happens with my brain, and this even happened back in school, like I was like extraordinary in some subjects where my attention was caught, but like in others I would just disassociate. And I know that I get like this look. You know, I look like at you, but I don't look at you. So like he knew exactly when I wasn't present and I wasn't paying attention. And this was often connected to like a situation where he would speak about what he really is passionate about. So you actually just want that your partner is present in those moments and truly listens. And they don't need to get you, but they're just there and show some type of interest, you know, cheering you on in your like fullest, like, you know, living up to your fullest like
Yeah. Yeah,
expression.
that's basically what I said. She asked me this and I thought about it and I was like, actually,
There is something.
there is something because I think those things that I'm most passionate about, you know, sort of the direction and the topics and things that I'm like to talk about or think about. And this is what's on my mind, right? This is what I'm passionate about. This is what, like, if you want to connect with me, this is how you will get the, what, like the most energy exchange from me when there is a exchange of this kind of topics. And then I said this, I, I would like you to listen, and I don't, you don't have to understand what I'm saying. You don't have to get the point. You don't have to agree with me. This is not what I need. If you are show some interest, maybe you ask, what do you mean? And then maybe I can frame it in a different way so that you understand it. So I'm not so logical or clinical or trying to like explain it in just straight the truth in the way that I see it, you know, because that's quite boring for her sometimes. But I said, I would love for you to just listen, pay attention, be present. And because otherwise, you will not really know me. You will not really see me. You will not get that passion that I have for something in my life.
Yeah.
And when you don't get this, and I'm sure that when we started to date, that was one part of the attraction, that I would speak in a passionate way of certain things because that's where I know a lot about. Like I have a deep knowledge about some of these things. And when I speak about those things, that's what I you will feel that
I
energy
would be
come
like,
out of me like the fire,
wow,
right?
he's so wise.
Yeah, yeah. And that's how it started. She would like, wow, you know. But then when we know each other after a while, it's like, ah, I already know this, or like I know what he wants to say, but it's not about that. It's about listening, it's about paying attention, it's about connecting, and that will bring more balance because then I also get to share what's on my mind. Maybe I don't have a some gossip for you to share, you know. That will be fun and exciting, but this is what's on my mind. This is how I feel about this and my
Mm.
life, and I want to share this with you. Otherwise, there will be no connection. So that was a great conversation
And
as
it
well.
was also really interesting to have that conversation because as we had it, I've noticed there were situations in the past where I felt excluded, where you were talking to someone and you were so engaged
Mm.
in the conversation because this other person was really interested in what you got to say. And I felt like the third wheel.
Mm.
And I was like, why do those feelings come up? Why do I feel that way? Like, but I actually at the same time wasn't giving you my full presence when you spoke. So you
Yeah, and I think
started
also
to,
subconsciously I know that you're not really interested, but when somebody is interested, then my full attention goes there. and then you would feel that why is not that intensity of presence and communication directed towards me,
Yeah.
because there was that you're not interested. And but that's very, very interesting that you actually felt that left out in those situations. But what is really needed was me to just, hey, if you want to listen,
Because
I would
when that
love for you to
situation
be.
happened, I actually blamed you.
Of
Like,
course, of
it's like
course.
you should have been more like considerate of not leaving me out, but actually the root of it was me not truly listening,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's like fascinating.
yeah.
And then we had another situation just a couple of weeks after he told me this, and then I was really paying attention, like I really wanted to be present and listen, like, and ask actively questions. So we were having dinner with a friend of mine, and then he was sharing something, and then after he finished, she looked at me and said, "Wow, I find it really beautiful how immersed and attentive Jana is listening to you."
Mhm.
And I was like, "This is so funny." Because I was
Yeah,
like, "Yeah," when he was
yeah, and
talking.
it has an effect like on the flow of communication when somebody is fully present and listening, it sort of brings more out from you when you communicate, right? And people notice the intensity of presence when people are actively listening, right?
Yeah,
And I think when we did our retreats as well, when you're like holding space and you're speaking, I'm very present and very intense, very, very, yeah, very present. And I think people notice that and they appreciate the connection that that creates when somebody
yeah,
is actively listening and somebody is speaking.
yeah.
So that's a very, very interesting
And that's
thing.
why often, like, it gets so emotional in circles, like where we come together in a safe container and we open up the space, and maybe I do a little round, and then I check in with each individual and I ask them, how are you feeling today? And then it's very normal that, like, some or even nearly all of the participants start crying. And then they are very surprised themselves and they're like, "Ah, so sorry, I don't know why I'm crying." I'm like, "No, like, it's beautiful. Just like share, like, how are you feeling?"
Mm.
We are so rarely truly asked,
Yeah, when
like,
it's a honest,
when it's like when you can
honest and
feel the
yeah,
energy
yeah,
behind it, someone
yeah.
is just like looking at you and they're really holding space for
Hmm.
what you have to say. And I mean, we don't need to walk around and like tell everyone how we're truly feeling if we are not feeling safe or like,
Yeah, of course,
but
of
like
course.
it feels really nice to be seen, like in that moment. I feel like, yeah, thank you, baby,
Thank
for
you,
that
baby.
lesson.
Yeah. So to move on first, to round this up, the communication part of this, we have shared some stories about this, and feel free to send us some questions and stories
Yeah,
of your own experience, so we can.
like I'm really curious if like who who resonates and what you personally experience, and we are open to pick up like real life stories. That would be great. That would be so fun,
Yeah,
I
that would be
think.
amazing to like share a story that we can tell the story, and then we can give our
Dive
perspective
deeper.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to round this up, how do you think that we can better handle situations where one of us might be avoiding a tough conversation, or in general in a partnership?
Why are you asking me this? This is like my number one topic.
Yeah, that's why you have a lot of insight in it.
So in my life, the most challenging situation have been where, and I have to go a little bit deeper because there's something called stress responses that happen when your nervous system is like kind of out of whack in certain situations, like noticing a threat or danger, like per se, and then you fall either into like the fight, the flight, the freeze, or the fawn response. And I've always been someone who would rather like dampen my truth when I want to have like a conversation with you and I know there's a potential you could be upset, angry, sad, like frustrated when I talk about this topic with you. I would kind of like put like the things that I would like to say into kind of like a softer a softer version of what I actually want to say,
You would
and then
sugarcoat
I
it a
would
bit.
miss the whole point
Hmm.
because I have this tendency to fall into this fawn response where you people please when you feel like someone is like potentially really upset with you. It doesn't matter if it was your fault or not. You just do this instantaneously, especially in my case when someone I like is not happy with me or something happens. Like I would fall into this, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Like, oh my God, so sorry. Like, and I have even the tendency to over apologize. And like this is like really interesting in like I didn't have that so much with you. Like with you I feel like more empowered to say like how I truly feel, but I have this a lot with like friendships, like closer connections. And yeah, I already lost my point.
Yeah, I would say we had a situation in the beginning where we started to get intimate, and then there was maybe 1 or 2 days where we didn't talk so much,
Yeah,
and then we met for pizza,
yeah,
and then you were feeling a bit vulnerable. You were feeling a bit unsure,
yeah,
like if you were doing something wrong or like where the relationship was going. And I remember in that moment, I noticed this, and I said, like, because we had connected for more than a year, but we
mm,
just started like be a bit intimate. And I said, like, hey, it's you and me. We're gonna do this. Like, there is no, we're not gonna leave. You know, we're it's you and me. We're gonna do this together. And I feel the uncertainty, and this is a communication thing. Whenever there is something hard to discuss or a conversation, if the both people feel safe that the relationship would not end. So usually in my past relationship, there would be a feeling of, if something happens, if I bring this up or if I talk about this or if I express myself in this way, that person might leave, or if they do it, I just go. So there was
yeah,
not this like set thing like, hey, we are together, whatever happens, we will resolve it, we will figure it out, we will talk about it. And yeah, it's you and me, we're going to do this. I think when that is set and when this is communicated, like, hey, I'm not going to leave, whatever happens, you can tell me, that safety is allowing that freedom of communication a lot more.
it's like the foundation.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the most challenging aspect for me is seeking out uncomfortable conversations. And I'm someone who has a tendency to avoid those on the expense of my own well being.
Mm.
So, like, and now as I'm getting older, working on this, like getting a little bit more experience with this, I would say it's still really uncomfortable, but I know it will bite me in my butt if
Mm.
I don't do this.
Mm.
Like, if I don't do this. And I also evaluate and contemplate, like, not everyone in my life gets this time and commitment and energy from me because if it's like a random person, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I would not put in so much effort in like
No.
because like there's people you just like turn in circles. It's like not I it sounds harsh, but I don't deem them worth my effort and
Yeah.
time. But then
Yeah.
there's other connections and I would seek out the conversation, although it's uncomfortable. And I would always start because I really value you and this friendship. I want to have this conversation. And I really appreciate like you being in my life. And that's why I want to talk about this.
Mm.
And this is what I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like, and then those conversations have been really beautiful. Like, although I initially thought like, oh my god, what if they get like really upset? But actually, they deepened the intimacy and connection because it's those vulnerable conversations that really deepen intimacy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Beautiful, baby. So let's move on to some expectations in relationships. So, to define this,
I
expectations
love
are
this topic.
beliefs about how situations should unfold or how people should behave, especially in the relationship dynamic. So, an example of this would be one partner might be on a personal development path, reading self help books and attending courses, and they might expect their partner to do the same. They might start to impose their expectations, causing tension if the other partner does not share the same enthusiasm for these activities.
And this is a really common dynamic between a woman who's going to all these like workshops and doing all the trainings and working on herself. Like I have a lot of conversations about this where the woman is like, okay, I
Really
want to roll up
motivated.
my sleeves and get dirty and dive into those
Yeah,
like suppressed like aspects of myself, the denied, rejected. I want to do this. And then they are like, okay, but like now I can see all of my shit. And then you automatically start noticing the shit of your partner. And you're like, but he doesn't do the work. How do I make him do the work? But you can't. You
it's
can't
very
make you.
common. It's very common.
Yeah, I can't make you.
No.
Like, so what is the solution here, baby? What do you feel like? Because ultimately, and you said it the other day, like if I would expect you to do it, like it feels really uncomfortable for you, and the pressure is like, and everything's like, it would actually push you farther away. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. And if we think of the masculine feminine dynamic, right? Men are really usually uncomfortable when the woman is in the masculine role, like giving instructions, giving like, you should do this, you should read this, or uh, do this techniques, or think about this, heal this, do this, do this, do that. This is an automatic thing. So the man, if he is not very aware, he will automatically, to balance this energy, fall into the more feminine, energetic role, unconsciously, subconsciously. But this doesn't feel very safe for a man to be in that, usually. And he will not feel attracted to that energy, that pushing, that telling, that demanding, like do this, do that, do that. So what happens is they will fall into this thing and the attraction will go away because the guy feels pressured and like he doesn't feel good enough. She's like subtly complaining or telling him that he's not good enough as he is. And this will cause him to do less and do not want to do that work. He will
Mm.
not want to read those books. He will not want to do any of those things because it's not attractive. He feels less. So one thing a woman would consider in those, if it's a woman, it could be that the man is doing the same, but to find a more inviting energy, first to accept the guy as he is and make sure that he knows this, like it's okay however you are, but to find a way to invite him to maybe just share what you're reading and say that you're interested in it, but not to tell him what to do. And then maybe at some point he gets a bit interested and starts to read something for himself. But
Yeah.
he has to make the choice and not feel pushed towards this. And women has this skill as well. If they move into their more feminine, they have the skill to subtly create some interest from the guy, and then he will be able to, hey, I will do this work. I will move into this in this way, and I will read this about this topic that I resonate with. And then he made the choice, and then he's taking the driver's seat, and then maybe he will tell you like, hey, we should do this course together, or we should do this, because to change that dynamic, the guy will not feel good about this, and it will, if this goes on for a while, he will not feel very
And
comfortable with you.
and I have to say there might be like an underlying like the sense of spiritual ego, which I also see a lot in the spiritual community. I've done all this work and I am more aware, more conscious, and like
Yeah,
all of this
yeah,
blah blah blah. And then like it's really like separating you from the other.
yeah.
Like
You're putting yourself above a bit.
I met this one girl back in Thailand a couple of years ago, and she literally told me like, "You have to come to my level," because she's done so many plant medicine ceremonies. So you really have to work on yourself so we can be on the same level.
Hmm.
I mean, like, what the fuck, you know? Like,
Yeah,
and this is like happening a lot. Like, this
yeah,
is also another topic. Like, teachers and mentors and coaches telling you like, ah, I had the best like mentor, and I've learned the tradition of this lineage and that lineage, and I'm more trauma informed than you because my trauma was worse, and I've overcame it, or like da 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 da. I feel sometimes when we are in this dynamic where the woman is like doing all this work, and she feels like her partner needs to catch up, there comes this a little bit the sense of spiritual ego in sometimes,
For
and
sure.
like we are all on our own individual journeys, so no one is like here and you're there. I really really dislike this type of worldview.
Yeah.
Like, and it sometimes kind of sneaks in, and I'm guilty of this myself. Like, I sometimes catch myself having really judgmental thoughts, and then I'm like, this is like, where did this come from? You know,
Yeah.
like, so, and we really really can't make our partner do the work because we want him to. Like it, there's also the sense of like when we have been together for a really long time, and we go through this stages of like transformation. Maybe we grow into a certain direction, and then like we change. It's like a constant death and rebirth process. So like, do we do this kind of together and move in the same direction, or at some point start living apart, you
Mm.
know? Like, so we have to be really honest with ourselves. Do our core values still align? Like, do we still go like hand in hand? And are we open to mend and repair, like when we have conflicts and so on? And if this, like, because you know, like sometimes when we have this situation with the woman doing the spiritual work and the man is like doing his own thing, like we use this as a reason to deflect and take this one thing as like, this is why I want to break up, because he's not like on my level or he's
Mm.
not doing the work. But actually, there's a lot of underlying nuanced things beneath it that we haven't looked at. And then we go into our new relationship, maybe we have broken up, and then we pick like a spiritual guy, but the same kind of feelings come up again, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like with the previous partner,
Mm-hmm.
because we took this one reason as the main reason to break up, but it was actually not the. Can you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you follow me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think anytime come from this perspective that we're above, that we know more, that we cannot learn anything from the other person because they have not done the same amount of work, we break this. This is the opposite of being spiritual.
Yeah.
Like we have to, every person we meet, no matter where they are in their journey, we have something to learn from them. And then we have, when we come from that perspective, the same level, they will actually feel better, and they will, if you are in a higher understanding or vibration, they will more likely want to resonate with that, but they will come to that point from their own perspective, so there's always something new to learn from them. So look at your partner and see what can you learn from that perspective, and ask questions and be interested, instead of trying to like teach that person or like try to bring them up to whatever level you think you are. Instead, meet them where they are, be interested, be curious, ask questions, and then that openness will allow them to you might learn something from them,
Yeah.
and then they might be open to investigate if what you have learned will be of value in their journey as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was the last time you had a really curious conversation with your
Hmm.
partner?
Hmm.
Oh,
Somebody
that.
you already know, and then
Yeah.
ask question. But how do you see this? Like, if I think I know everything, then she will not feel so valued if I don't feel like she can teach me something. Jana has taught me a lot of things. And that's a very important part, because we can't like have the two perspectives. We only have our own perspective. If I think that my perspective is the only thing that is right and good, then I will miss out on all the experience that Jana has had in her life, and that she had learned from her own perspective, the way that she explains it and sees life. I can learn a lot. You see? Be curious, my friends. So the next one. So, next topic, love languages. What is
Oh,
this? What is love languages? So the definition is love languages are the specific ways individuals prefer to give and receive love in relationships. And this concept was developed by Dr. Gray Chapman and includes five different languages: words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. And an example, if one partner's love language is quality time, but they receive gifts instead, they might not feel as loved or understood, even though the other partner is showing affection in the way that comes most natural to them.
I have great examples here.
Do you know what your love
Ich.
language is and how has it shaped the way you navigate relationships?
So, first of all, I want to note that you might have several, but I always feel there's like one that's very dominant depending on your upbringing, also. And because I was kind of raised in a very independent way where I had to be on my own, doing things on my own. I felt kind of like by myself all the time. I was also the eldest child, and there's quite a big age gap between me and my brother. Like, I can get very emotional when you do something for me, take things off my plate, when you're very considerate and attentive. Like, let's say you noticed I had a really long, rough day. And although we take turns, like with washing the dishes or something, although it's like maybe my turn to wash the dishes, you do it and you cook dinner or something like that,
Hmm.
I can get like, oh my God, I love you so much. Thank you.
Hmm.
Like, I can get super emotional. While other people might have, for example, physical touch, but you as a person have like words of affection. So you will tell your partner, "Oh, I love you so much. You're amazing. You're so smart, wise, beautiful," and so on. And then the other person, I mean, it's nice to hear these things. Don't misunderstand me. But like the other person would have loved to like be hugged or being intimate and so on, but for you it's not what you perceive as like the highest expression of love, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So like it's really interesting to know how your partner communicates love. So I find that like, and you know that mine is acts of service, you know that. So like, do you feel it's helpful?
It's very helpful. I remember this summer, a few months ago, we were apart for a while and then we met up in an apartment in Stockholm. And the first day you were like cooking and things like this. You were like, I'm going to cook you a nice meal and things like this. And you also said that during your time you were doing some retreats and things. You were always like, you were cooking for people and doing a lot of things like this. And then you took out all the ingredients, you prepared, and I saw that you were not really wanting to cook. And I said, like, baby, do you want me to cook? And you said, no, 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 I will cook. And I said, okay. I was like looking for a movie or something like this that we could watch. And then she was just walking around in the kitchen. Like I could sense her not cooking and being a bit like not in the mood for cooking. And then I stood up and I came, I will cook, baby. Go and sit down and just relax. I will cook food for you. So she goes and I cook. And then when we sit down to have food, she likes just looks at the food and take a bite and there's like tears coming and she just feels like really good that I did it, even though she didn't have to ask for it or something like this, and that she feels taken care of in this way. So that's yeah.
So what's yours, baby?
Well, I would say that the maybe it's quality time, like the listening part, like active
Really,
listening, and
quality
maybe
time.
and not trying to fix if I share something, just listening and being supportive. Maybe words of affirmation also comes in. That's like, hey, you can do it, or something like
I
this. Like
think
the
you have
feminine kind of
words of
encouragement,
affirmation,
support.
baby.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure of
yeah.
that.
This I feel loved when this happens, and a physical touch as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very simple things. Like it's not very hard. It's just that's where we feel love. Like you like to bring gifts as well.
So
It's
I
not my
think
main
it's
language,
what
but I
we
appreciate it.
didn't really receive as a child.
Yeah.
So I very plainly said, no one truly helped me. And I also like grew up in an environment where there was not much there. Like financially, there was not much. And like I noticed, I always thought I have physical touch as well. But because you're also very physical, I don't feel like this is like it's just there,
Mm.
you know. But like gifts is something that I've noticed I do with people a lot that I really
Mm.
like in the sense of like I might walk down a mall or something and I see something random that I know my friend or you would love, and I get really excited about getting it for you.
Mm.
And it's not because I want you to perceive me as someone generous or whatever. It's just like generally it gives me a lot of joy to
Mm.
get it for you.
Mm. And you're also very good at this. You're like, you know, maybe something that that person needs in their life. Like it's something
Hmm.
like it could be something small, doesn't
Yeah,
have to be expensive, but it's something that brings some value to their life. Like they
yeah.
really needed that. Or like sometimes you will get me like some special oil for my face because you know I don't do that a lot. And you're
I
like,
noticed
my
that your
face
face
is
is
very
so
dry,
dry.
and she will give me something with some nice like woody kind of smells that she like knows that I enjoy. So it's like thoughtful gifts, beautiful gifts, and
So, like in general, this love language thing helped us to better understand each other. And I think every tool, system, you know, everything that's kind of helping you to deepen the connection and help you to understand each other, it's like helpful. So, like, yeah, that's been like really nice to just have a general understanding of how
mm.
you show love and how you would like to receive love. So, yeah,
So for somebody who doesn't know what this love language thing is,
yeah.
and maybe they want to know how to know what their main love language is, probably you have two or more. How would somebody figure out this, and how would somebody communicate this to their partner without making it sound like this weird thing that just is an idea in some book that somebody wrote, like, hey, there's this thing called love languages? How do you think that somebody should get a clarity on their own and then also communicate this and ask what the other person is?
I feel when we read up, there's like a book, obviously, that you can read, but if you Google it, there's a lot coming up with examples. When I've read those, I already knew.
Mm.
And then I also reflected on our relationship. When was I most receptive? In what moments did I feel really seen, heard, loved? And acts of service was like the number one.
Mm.
And also like I reflected a little bit about yours. I feel like this is like very easy usually to pinpoint. And then what I mentioned before, as I dove deeper into it, I started noticing, oh, these two things I really lacked as a child. So it makes sense that I crave these like languages of love in my
Mm.
relationship. So like that's basically how I discovered.
Yeah, and
And oh, how you can, okay, wait.
mhm.
I have another point. So if you would like to bring up this conversation with your partner, like I would turn it around. Like I would ask you, I would explain the concept during maybe one of our dinners, and I would ask you, I would share those fives with you. I think I even did that.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
you
I
did.
asked you, so what do you feel? Which one of those five resonates? And then you start reflecting as well
Hmm.
on how you love me and
And
what
I
you
think I
do.
was a bit unsure, and at that point I didn't really, I don't know how to say it, but like it was not, I was not used to communicating what I need, like my needs, and I felt a bit like I can't tell you how to love me, you know,
Yeah.
like because feels a bit weird. But I feel that's important to say, like, hey, actually, when these things, like physical touch, I really feel loved. Like I need a hug, 2 hugs a day, or something like this. And it can feel a bit weird to maybe communicate this. But when you think about it, the other person wants to love you, and maybe I think that they are willing to sort of give you what you need in love terms. And if they
Yeah.
know this, I think it's a beautiful way for, because then you both get the most out of this, you know? Like,
Yeah. And this is also like just like what I just remember is also sometimes when we have those situations where like I feel like you had a rough day or like you're not like your best self.
mm,
If you ask like how can I best support you in
yeah,
this now
yeah.
moment? Is there anything
Yeah, I
like
remember sometime I was really, really tired and exhausted and just not in a mood to talk. And she would sit down and maybe massage my calves or something like this. And I would start to relax immediately and I feel
and I
very
just
loved
did
and
it
taken care of.
intuitively.
Yeah.
Like you didn't ask
Yeah.
me.
These things are really good to think about. And yeah.
Yeah. So like I would ask this question like often.
Yeah.
How can I, when you have the capacity to do it, also like maybe
Yeah.
sometimes we have
Shouldn't be
wrapped up in
forced.
our, how can I best support you?
Yeah.
Like, is there anything like you
Yeah.
need in this now moment? And this also gives you the opening to actually think about it.
Hmm.
Because often, like when I run around and I'm wrapped up in my day to day life, I don't even stop and think, you know?
Yeah.
But like when you ask me this, I'm like, oh, or you really ask me like, how do you actually feel today? How do you feel?
Yeah.
Like, how do you really feel? And then
Mm.
I'm like, oh, actually, I feel a little bit tense today and a tad anxious.
Mm.
And then I acknowledge this and I maybe slow down a little bit because like it's really beautiful in relationships how we help each other to be more present.
Yes. Beautiful. So, is there anything to close this conversation about communication that you would like to share? Something that comes to mind, something that people could think about, or something that you think people should do more in relationships in regards to communication? Like communicating your desires is a very good thing to do and a very good practice to let the other person know, not in a way that you're demanding something, just saying, "Hey, I would enjoy some of this," or I really need some of this sometimes.
Yeah. So communicating my needs, but it's like my personal journey and experience has been a game changer.
Mm.
Because like what I shared about my past relationship in the beginning, I would just put my needs second and just do whatever I felt like I needed to do in order to
Mm.
be a good partner.
Start to build a lot of resentment and
Yeah.
frustration because that person can't read your mind, and then you explode that
Yes, yes, yes,
after
yes,
a
yes.
year or two.
So like and in order to be able to communicate your needs, you really have to know what they are. you know, like what's like really important to you in this now moment. What do
Hmm.
you, and like to actually share it in a way that's not demanding from you, like you need to do this. But like I usually start, like I feel in this now moment. Like this is how I feel, and I would love to see more of like you know what I mean.
Mm.
Um, and this has happened with us naturally, like especially the last couple of months. The summer was a little rough patch. We can go into this in another podcast. Like interesting story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have many stories to share with you guys. But final message to all the guys and the men out there trying to have a relationship. If you, like we spoke in the beginning, to make your woman very comfortable with you, to be able to share things with you, to deepen the relationship, to really get to know each other. Make sure she knows that you're committed. You don't have to marry to just say, like, hey, I want this relationship. It's you and me. We're going to do this. Whatever comes up, you can tell me and we will figure it out. I will not be angry with you if you express your needs, desires, or problems with me or your feelings. And that will allow her to relax a bit into the relationship. And then she will be able to communicate her feelings to you. Do you have a message for the women out there?
That's actually a really beautiful message for men. I'm sorry, but like while you were talking, I was thinking about this one moment like when we were kind of dating, and then you looked into my eyes and you were like, I want you to be mine. And I felt like, oh my God, like no one ever told me this. No one ever said to me, I want you to be mine.
Mm.
Instead of like, do you want to be my girlfriend? I want
Mm.
you to be mine. And I realized like, yes, I've been craving for someone to claim me, like
Yes.
fully,
Yes. And this is a very masculine thing. It's not about
Wow.
possessing or like controlling. It's not this, but express that, hey, I want this. You are mine. Like we will do this. Makes the woman very relaxed with you. She makes her feel safe. And this is very, very important for men to be able to express this. I could not do this in my earlier relationships.
Yeah.
I I think I didn't feel like this will be forever. So I couldn't
Yeah,
say
you told
this.
me this.
Yeah, I couldn't express this part, but I when I reflected on my relationships, I noticed that that part of just expressing that you're committed to the relationship, to that person, that it's you and me, you like I want you to be mine in a way. Without having this possession kind of feeling or forcing or like too
Mm.
dominant, it's just like this like we're going to do this. Like
And it was like,
that commitment that you express this, like I'm fully in, I'm all in, like we're going to do this. This changes the whole dynamic. She will feel relaxed, and then whatever comes up you will deal with it, but make sure to remind her like, hey, this is what is happening. It's you and me. We're going to do this. There's no way. We're not going to break up because there's some small issue going on. You can express these things. We can have a fight if that's needed, or we can have a discussion. We can have a hard conversation. It's not gonna I'm not gonna run away. Like we're not gonna just flip out or go out, like check out. This is not an option. And this creates a lot of safety. This is the foundation of the whole thing. And if you can express that to a woman, she will bring you deeper in intimacy, because only the woman knows how to do this. But the man needs to say, like, hey, it's you and me. And then the woman will bring that deeper part. She will relax more into it, and she will open up more to your whatever it is, to your
you're
energy,
like
to
the
your
container,
yeah.
and I'm the water
Yeah,
inside,
she can
like
be
with all
she
the.
can be more feminine. She can open up, and yeah, that's the most important thing. If you can't express this, or if you haven't expressed this, make sure every time you feel that she feels a bit unsure, she feels a bit unsafe, give her some safety by telling her this. It's you and me. We're gonna do this. Whatever happens, what's going on?
Yeah. My message is just become curious about your partner.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
And then often the byproduct of us doing this is like this aliveness that we have been maybe missing or craving. And this is like totally natural that it like kind of ebbs and flows within
Mm.
a relationship container. But like often when like shit starts to hit the fan, it's like this aliveness that's been kind of lacking
Mm.
in our relationship for over a longer period of time than usually. I find it's natural that it's like going up and down. And it's also natural that we don't stay in this honeymoon phase forever, but we can grow deeper in love. It's like a different sense. It's not a falling in love, it's like a rising in love with time.
Mm.
And we are totally capable of doing this in a relationship, depending on what you want and
Mm.
need. Obviously, there's also other types of relationships where you might maybe have multiple partners and so on. Like, I'm not saying that this is not possible, but just like I know, based on I know myself, like, and I also know that we are like really committed to each other. And it would give me a headache actually if I would think like there's another person like I have to get to know and like
Mm.
also
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
figure out their love language and
Okay.
all of this like I would
Yeah.
it's like having triplets.
Yeah. Beautiful, baby.
Yeah.
So, to close this, thank you for listening. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for allowing us to share these things
Mm.
and our relationship with you guys. And may you all walk in the love and the light of the one creator. Bless you all. And we see you on the next one.
He always says this.
Peace.